WSAV First News at 4, tracking Idalia. Parts of Georgia and South Carolina now feeling the effects of this powerful storm. We are live with everything you need to know.
It's 4 o'clock on WSAV, on your side. Now, WSAV presents First News at 4.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Edward Moody.
And I'm Tina Shaw. Thank you for joining us. We are continuing our coverage of Hurricane Idalia. Idalia was a Category 3 as it made landfall along the Big Bend region of Florida's Gulf Coast, causing flooding and damage. Right now, you're looking at video from Keaton Beach, Florida. The storm ripped the roof off several homes there and caused dangerously high water levels.
Now the system is moving through Georgia and into South Carolina. We have news crews all around the coastal empire and low country to keep you informed and up to date on the storm.
And right now, we want to find out exactly where Idalia is and exactly where it's headed.
WSAV meteorologist Scott Roberts joins us now with the latest track.
The latest full track advisory will be coming out at 5 o'clock, but this system is making its way through our area right now. Winds are picking up, especially at coastal areas. This is the view from our Savannah cam out at Tybee Island. We can see those strong onshore winds. We're just past low tide now, so gradually those levels will begin to rise as we get those strongest winds coming on shore over the next couple of hours. The heaviest rain is now starting to lift more into the northwestern part of the area, the southern part of the area down into Jeff Davis, Appling, Wayne County, and Bacon counties that were dealing with some flooding rain earlier on, starting to dry out now, but still breezy and gusty conditions are occurring as that center is making its way into, say, Tattnall County and into Evans County with that heaviest rain just to the north. We had multiple isolated tornado warnings with this. We still do run that risk as we head into the next couple of hours as far as what we are dealing with right now. There's that view on our composite imagery. This is generally the broken eye wall making its way northward for us. Still that flooding, heavy rain for us in the western part of the area. So we are definitely going to have to watch out for that. Rain totals over 6 inches estimated by Viper radar. We will be seeing that increase for us for the next few hours for areas more to the north, more inland, and this will lead to some river flooding over the coming days. So we're definitely going to be watching out for that. Rain totals over 6 inches, more likely in the interior parts of the area, more toward the coast. 2 to 4 inches of rain are expected. So we do have those flood concerns throughout into early Thursday, I should say, until this system really is able to pull out of our area. And that's going to be occurring for us as we do head into the overnight hours. Current wind speeds are starting to pick up over 30 miles per hour along the coast, pretty close to that further inland. 26 mile per hour sustained wind in Baxley, Idalia, 29 miles per hour. When you look at the wind gusts, they are even higher for us, as high as 55 miles per hour for Darien, 43 miles per hour for Savannah. And we are going to see more of that pick up over the next couple of hours. So as a result, they do expect the possibility still of some hurricane force winds along the coast, and we are still dealing with a hurricane warning for much of our area. We will start to see some of our counties canceled out of this as it does lift more to the north and east. That system is moving to the northeast at about 20 miles per hour through our area, so we are definitely going to be watching out for this over the next few hours. And we do have a tornado threat, a low-end threat for us into the evening hours. That is something that we are going to be watching out for. You need to be ready to take action. Meteorologist Alyssa Carsley joins us now with a more detailed look at some of those threats that we can expect through the evening, including a look at those tides.
Yeah, absolutely, Scott. So here's the very latest. It is a Category 1 hurricane, winds of 75 miles per hour. You can see how it's just slicing through the coastal empire and low country right now. One of the biggest impacts we've been tracking all day long, what we've been talking about, has been those wind gusts, especially lining up with high tide. As of right now, we are tracking some strong wind gusts out there. 56 miles per hour for a wind gust in Alma, 55 miles per hour in Darien, 43 miles per hour for a wind gust right now here in Savannah. So the current level of the tides is well below the flood stage right now, all because we're not near high tide. We're near low tide currently, but as we head into this evening, high tide is at 8 p.m. Now, one update from what we've been tracking over the last few days, we were watching for a high tide this morning about 10.3 feet. The National Weather Service is starting to back off on that. That's good news. While 10.1, 10.3 really aren't that big of a difference, it is showing the trend that there is a higher that we are watching for those offshore winds to move in at the same time as high tide later on this evening. But timing everything out for the next couple of hours, still watching for those heavy rain bands for our far inland communities, that onshore wind persisting for another hour or two. Then as we head into the afternoon or into this evening, we begin to watch for those offshore winds pushing some of that water offshore. But of course, as we head towards 8 o'clock tonight, we still do have high tide with elevated tides because of the full moon later on. So still watching that closely, but it does look like we'll begin to see more of those offshore winds by later on tonight. Going into the day tomorrow, watching for some wraparound rain showers to start off here Thursday morning, but things slowly start to improve, at least in terms of rain. We get to see some sunshine out there, and we'll continue to see more sunshine hanging around as we go into the afternoon as well. Still a bit gusty throughout your Thursday as we're watching for those wind gusts, at least up to 20 miles per hour. But things will begin to dry out as we head into your Friday, watching for things to continue to clear up. And Scott, look at that weekend. After we get through this evening, things turn so much better. 88 degrees for a high on Saturday to 89 degrees for a high on Sunday.
Yeah, so it's really just the next few hours where we need to be concerned if there's
Right.
any cleanup for tomorrow and beyond. At least we are going to be looking at much better weather. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll have another look at where the system is and where it's heading. And at 5 o'clock, of course, that's when we will get the latest statistics from the Hurricane Center. Back over to Edward and Tina.
All right, Scott, thank you. And thank you, Alyssa. We are continuing to monitor the conditions on Tybee Island. We know that things are changing there. City leaders are keeping a close eye on Highway 80 so they can be ready just in case it floods later this evening. So right now we want to join WSAV's Sarah Smith. She's been on the island all day. And Sarah, tell us, what are conditions like there now?
Hey Tina, listen, this wind is insane right now. We walked down to the beach earlier and the rain and sand was just pelting us. Now that was not the conditions that we had this morning. If you take a look, skies were blue and there was very little rain, just a lot of heavy wind. Since then, conditions have definitely gotten stronger as this storm moves in. Tybee Mayor Shirley Sessions urging people on the island to stay indoors and report any flooding or power outages.
We're also asking residents if they can report any flooding on their streets to the Tybee Police Department, our non-emergency number, and our officers are keeping up with that particular situation.
Once again, a lot of rain and wind out here on Tybee Island now. Shirley Sessions says that there's no curfew for the island, but the beach is closed and red flags are flying. We'll hear more from the mayor coming up. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Right now, we want to check in with News 3's Tyler Nicole.
And she is in downtown Savannah on River Street. Tyler, tell us, give us a look as well about how the situation is there right now.
Hey, Ben and Tina. Yes, I am here on River Street. As you can see, the rain is coming down and the winds are starting to pick up. Now, we've been here all day and it's pretty desolate. There's a few passerbys in the distance, but mostly everyone is indoors. Businesses are closed, and I'm going to step out of the way really quickly so you can have a look at what the river is doing here on River Street. The waves are roaring, the winds are blasting, and Mayor Van Johnson wants everyone to know this is not a joke and to please stay home.
Stay home. This is nothing to play with, and we already see the damage this has had in Florida, and certainly through the southern part of Georgia. We need to make sure we heed the advice of our professionals and stay home.
We will keep you updated on any more official information we receive, but we haven't learned anything new. Thank you so much, Ben and Tina. Reporting live on River Street, Tyler Nicole, WSAV News 3 on your side.
All right, Tyler, thank you. And we are continuing our On Your Side coverage, and we're giving you what you need to know about cancellations as well as closings due to this storm. And of course, those power outages. WSAV News 3's Patty Turner is joining us upstairs in our newsroom, and she has been gathering this information throughout the day. Hi, Patty.
We
have a team here in the newsroom collecting all those breaking details for everybody. We're going to start with the power outages that you mentioned. We're looking at Georgia Power, Coastal Electric, and Palmetto Electric. Starting with Georgia Power, up to 500 people are without power in Nicholsville and near the UGA Marine Education Center. That's where we're seeing the most of the power outages. Now on Coastal Electric's website, Liberty County, Bryan County, McIntosh County, Bryan County, almost 6,000 people without power there. And in McIntosh, about 3,000 people without power. Now, on the South Carolina side, Palmetto Electric only reporting one viewer, one home without power there, thankfully, in South Carolina. As for the shelters, Chatham County, as you mentioned earlier, safety shelter set up at the Cultural Arts Center, Bullitt County Trinity Episcopal Church, and the Low Country, Ridgeland, Hardyville High School. Those shelters are open. Flights are canceled from the Savannah Airport and the Hilton Head Airport. Now, for the school closures, Liberty, Bryan, and Wayne County schools will be closed again tomorrow. Chatham County schools are on virtual learning through Friday. Now, for a full list of all the closures, just go to WSAV.com. Back to you guys.
That one and I'll do. All right, Patty, thank you. Well, WSAV's Joseph Leonard is in the Lowcountry today. He's live from Hilton Head Island with how things are looking out there. Hey, Joseph.
So we're live here on Shelter Cove Harbor, and as we're seeing, there's some wind picking up, there's some rain that's picking up as well. On our way over here, we saw some limbs down in the streets. Restaurants are still open, but people are still out here. But again, we're seeing some wind, some rain as well. Now, here's some things you need to know. So the town has issued a state of emergency. The Beaufort County Sheriff's Office has as well. Now, that means the town has the authority to prepare for and respond to any impacts brought on by the storm. It also allows the Sheriff's Office to authorize any curfews or short-term measures. Now, there is no curfew right now for the town of Hilton Head Island. Now, I just spoke with the town's emergency manager who says the storm is moving faster than they originally thought. So that means we could see some heavy rain and wind much sooner. His advice is to get ready now.
With the timing moved up, it's time to go ahead and go back home, hunker down, and wait this thing out. We don't want you on the roads. We don't want you moving around, because once the wind starts picking up, with all the rain we've had, there's a chance for trees to come down. And they still have us in a high risk for tornadoes. So once the storm fully gets here, we have the potential for tornadoes, winds, trees down. So go home, hunker down, and just wait for it to be over. And it will move off fairly quickly.
Also, closing the Hilton Head Island Bridge is still up to the state. Now, right now, it's still open, and even though it is open, officials are urging you not to take it. They say it's dangerous to be on the bridge right now. Reporting live in Hilton Head Island, Joseph Leonard, WSAV News 3, on your side.
All right, thank you, Joseph. We want to bring you some news that's just come into the News 3 newsroom here. So I'll go first. CAT has said that they are ceasing all operations into tomorrow as well. Already ceased today, but they say because of the storm, the predicted storm track, they will not have any routes running tomorrow. That includes the fixed route, paratransit, DOT, and the Savannah Bells Ferry. All cease operations tomorrow on Thursday.
We are also receiving some information from Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort, and this is a mandatory shelter in place for Parris Island. And their email goes on to say that for residents who live at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, there will be a mandatory shelter in place order. It begins at 7 o'clock tonight and runs until 3 a.m. So make sure that you continue to pay attention to us right here at WSAV on air and online, and we will give you the very latest information as we get it.
Yeah, and they say after that 3 a.m. cutoff, if you have downed trees, if you have a lot of debris, any obstructions, you can contact Emergency Operations Center. We'll have all this information on our website at WSAV.com. All right, our coverage of Hurricane Idalia continues after the break, everybody.
Stay with us.
Some days, it's okay to approach large animals. Kids don't have to be so grounded, and loud voices are encouraged. Experience the all-new Adventure Port area, including 2 new rides. Kings Island, for the fun of it.
They said to get a respected degree, I'd have to go to a big state university. But WGU offers online degree programs that employers value, and even have alumni working at some of the largest companies in the world. Plus, because the program is online, I didn't even have to quit my job. See why over 95% of employers say they would hire another WGU grad, and learn more at wgu.edu.
Custom Ink helps us celebrate and drive our students' achievements with custom gear. They love Custom Ink's different styles and designs. We love how Custom Ink makes the process simple with their easy-to-use design lab, expert artists ready to help, and unbeatable customer service. Custom Ink allows our kids to show everyone their accomplishments and the pride they have in our school. When we place an order, I know they got our back, so we can focus on the kids.
Custom Ink has hundreds of products to help you feel connected. Upload your logo or start your design today at customink.com.
Man, it's lonely. Going through it, it's lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music.
At Colonial Penn, we're proud of our history. We built a plan with 3 important guarantees over 50 years ago. We guaranteed acceptance, we guaranteed the price, and we guarantee your satisfaction. Visit colonialpenn.com for free information and a free gift.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the arrival of Hurricane Idalia.
We have reporters and photographers stationed in various locations around the coastal empire and low country.
And right now we want to go to Bryan County. That's where we find WSAV's Nakaya Harris. She's joining us live now from Fort McAllister Marina. Nakaya?
The wind has started to pick up here. We're starting to see debris on the ground. We also saw crews fixing power lines, but we're here with Butch Broom, owner of Fort McAllister and Fishtails Restaurant. Butch, are you worried about this wind?
Of course I'm worried about the wind. Everybody's worried about the wind. But as far as the marina is concerned, the wind is blowing out of the south, which really protects us. As you can see, the river's pretty calm right now. But as far as the outlying areas in the neighborhoods, yes, we're concerned about the wind.
And I have one question. Do you guys have power with all this wind I've been seeing? Do you guys have power?
Currently, we do not have power on this side of the street. However, across the street where all of the other stuff is, we have power there. So it's kind of weird.
Interviewed Butch yesterday, and you said 2017 you went through a rough hurricane here. What have you learned from this past hurricane?
Well, the first one was Matthew, and then immediately after that we had Irma. And, of course, we learned a lot from Matthew, being that was our first hurricane. So we've learned a lot. We've learned what to do and what not to do and how to plan ahead a little bit better.
All right. We're going to keep you updated as the day goes by. Again, you can visit WSAV for more updates. My name is Nakaya Harris, WSAV News 3, on your side.
All right, thank you, Nakaya. This is what the storm left behind as it moved through Valdosta this morning. You can see that water almost up at the front door of these homes. The area was under a flash flood warning today. Officials say there have been several water rescues and some neighborhoods have been evacuated.
And before we go to the break, we have some updates to tell you about. This is in regards to any of you wishing to fly out of Savannah, or if you're wondering if flights are coming in. This word from the Savannah Hilton Head International Airport. It is open and operational, but we do want to let you know that all flights out of Savannah have been canceled for the rest of the day. And the airport officials are basically giving you this information to passengers. If you need to get out of town, make sure you continue to take a look at your respective airlines, find out what is going on at the airport, and of course, stay right here with WSAV. We will, of course, keep you updated on air and online.
Yeah, if you want to try and rebook, you have to go through your airline
Yes.
for that, so reach out to them. All right, everybody, stick around. We will have more coverage after the break.
I'm an actor in an ad reminding you that if you're high, just don't drive.
Ooh, pretty colors. Best Reviews is an unbiased team that researches products in real-world situations to give reliable recommendations on just about everything. For the best reviews, go to bestreviews.com. Seriously, before you buy anything, ever.
News Nation is getting noticed. A remarkable expansion in viewership. These primetime numbers have erupted, sticking to the both sides playbook.
That's why News Nation is getting traction.
To find News Nation on your TV, visit joinnn.com.
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Hurricane Idalia was a Category 3 as it made landfall along the Big Bend region of Florida's Gulf Coast, causing flooding and damage.
Jay Gray is in Gainesville with the latest.
Idalia moving through Florida and now pushing into Georgia. What it left behind in this area, heavy rain, standing water in some lower lying areas. Of course, we're in Gainesville, which is removed from the coastline a bit. Along that coastline, as the storm made landfall in the early morning hours, we saw a huge storm surge moving in, pushing water into areas it's not supposed to be, and severe wind damage in many of those areas as well. So a hard strike at the coastline, but moving quickly and getting through the state, which is the good news. Clearing up here, as you can see, in Gainesville, there was obviously concern. This is where the University of Florida is, so you've got 50,000 students and a huge faculty there. That campus still locked down at this point. And we're starting to see some sun poke through the clouds, but we're going to continue to see rain and some gusting winds throughout the day here and into the evening. But again, this storm moving quickly and pushing through, but still a major concern, not only in Georgia, but it's going to continue up the eastern seaboard and into the Carolinas. That's the latest from here in Gainesville. I'm Jay Gray. Back to you now.
All right, here's a live look outside at Tybee Island. You can see it looks a little foggy there, the clouds in the sky over there by the lighthouse. We've heard that the wind is still pretty strong on Tybee. Let's get straight to meteorologist Scott Roberts with the latest. Hey, Scott.
Hey, good evening. We are going to see those winds pick up over the next few hours. We are going to be expecting another advisory from the National Hurricane Center on Idalia as we head into the next hour, actually just about half an hour. But the last update, just about half an hour ago, 75-mile-per-hour wind, so barely holding on to hurricane strength. It's possible that this next advisory, it is dropped down to a tropical storm, which would be good news, which would mean a lessening chance of those strongest winds as this is rolling through during these evening hours. But Viper radar is still pretty active for us along the coast. We saw that view out on Tybee Island. There are some showers that are developing. These are working their way inland, but we do have a lot of very heavy rain in the interior parts of our area, into Hampton County, Screven County, Bullock County, and out into Candler County as well. This is all lifting northward with that main core of that area of low pressure that's associated with the hurricane. So we actually do have some flooding concerns there. We've had excessive rainfall throughout the day, and that will be continuing for another couple of hours as this is all spinning through. Rainfall totals on Viper radar have been over 6 inches. Things on the southern part of the area, more toward the coast, considerably less rain has been reported, pretty much as expected. So our flooding concerns at the coast will remain. The coastal flooding concerns with those strong onshore winds, as you see this very strong, very defined area of low pressure with Hurricane Idalia making its way through the coastal empire. So as far as those rain totals, based upon Viper radar estimates, many spots in the purple receiving over 6 inches of rain. So that's going to be cause for concern for the next couple of days as the river levels begin to rise as well for us at the coast. With the coastal flooding, that's going to be a concern for us tonight. But as far as additional rainfall on top of what we have already received, we can see some spots get over 4 inches of rain or more, especially in northern parts of the county, like up in Sylvania, where that rain is still falling and it is still very heavy. So that is going to be cause for concern. For that flood watch does continue at least into early Thursday morning for most of our counties, but in the southwestern part of the area that has been able to expire simply because the rain looks like it's done for this system as it is starting to move more to the north and east out of our area, moving through the core of our area. But as far as those winds right now, very strong onshore for us in the low country, Savannah pretty much paralleling the coast along McIntosh County into coastal Liberty County, but turning a little bit more onshore for Chatham County and into Beaufort County. So that will lead to those higher tide levels further up the coast. Wind gusts, the latest reading, and Darien, 55 miles per hour. Richmond Hill, 45 miles per hour. So definitely some stronger winds are still anticipated as we head into 7, 8 o'clock. That center looks like it is going to be in the low country over Hampton, at least based upon our Vipercast model. Those winds inland will become more offshore. So as high tide is occurring further down the coast, those elevated tides will be a little bit less of a concern. Same thing for us here. So as a result, those forecast tide levels are a little bit lower, but still don't let your guard down just yet. They are still going to be some of a concern as we do head into that high tide hour around 8 o'clock. So definitely we will be looking out for that. But the good news is as we head past tonight and into the day tomorrow, conditions will be improving. So as our conditions improve, anything that needs to be cleaned up, you'll have great weather for that. We can expect Thursday to still be on the breezier side, but those conditions will be improving. So we'll be watching this throughout the evening. We'll send it over to Edward and Tina.
All right, thank you, Scott. Stay with us, everybody. There's more news ahead.
You're watching WSAV News 3 at 4, our continuing coverage of Hurricane Idalia. Stick around.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Well, Hurricane Idalia is moving through Georgia and into South Carolina. We have News 3 crews located around the coastal empire and low country to keep you informed and up to date on the storm throughout the afternoon and evening. Well, Georgia is under a state of emergency in anticipation of damage and disruption from Hurricane Idalia.
Governor Brian Kemp says emergency personnel is on standby to respond when and where they are needed.
It's a dangerous storm. People need to prepare. They need to be ready when it's coming through and either, move a county or two up if they have the ability to do that. If not, make sure they're in a secure location. Watch out for down power lines and other things of that nature. And just, if they got an hour or two or a couple hours before the storm gets there, get a little extra bottled water if you get cut off or lose power, and just smart things like that.
Well, Tybee Island is bracing for the impacts of the hurricane. We already are seeing high wind and surf at the beach. WSAV's Sarah Smith is live down there. We check back in with her. She's been there all morning. Sarah, how are things looking there now as we're seeing the storm move further in?
Hey, Edward, yeah, this wind out here is insane. As you can take a look outside, we're on our hotel balcony. You can see this sand moving in that wind. It's crazy how strong these gusts are out here. Now, conditions have definitely changed since earlier this morning. That is when people were out in the water enjoying the waves. Now, Shirley Sessions telling News 3 they do have emergency personnel on standby, but with red flags flying on the beach, anyone choosing to be out in this weather is doing so at their own risk.
If people choose to get in the water for any reason, it's going to be at their own risk. And we just hope that people will make smart decisions on their health and safety and that of others.
Mayor Sessions is stressing the importance of staying home and not traveling on roads. Now, we are told Highway 80 is still open as of right now. High tide is at 8:30. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Here's another live look out there at Tybee Island. You can see that surf out there really moving now as the waves crash into the beach there. That wind on those palm trees, the trees there, pretty high. Let's get over to meteorologist Scott Roberts, who can talk about what we're seeing and what's coming. Hey, Scott.
Good afternoon, Edward. You can see someone there really struggling in the wind. I guess they're trying to get themselves flying with their jacket out there, but kind of looking like they're struggling in those gusty conditions out there along the coast. But Viper radar starting to dry out on the east side and certainly on the southern side. Most of the heavy weather now is more in the northwestern part of the area. That's where we have been dealing with some flooding concerns still as that heavier core, that main core, is rolling up into the Metter area and Statesboro with those gustier winds. We're starting to get those wraparound winds for us at the coast, which is going to be leading to those elevated higher tides, but not quite as high as what we were originally expecting, simply because during high tide, the winds will start to become a little bit more offshore as the circulation for Idalia is making its way through the region into the middle part of our area now, but that rain has been very heavy, and we will continue to have those flooding concerns inland. We will be transitioning more in that coastal flooding concern over the next couple of hours as that tide does start to come in. We will have an increase in those tides, in those rainfall totals on top of what we've already received. Vipercast is estimating that places like Screven County could see an additional 5 inches or more. So that's something that we'll definitely have to watch out for more in the way of that flooding concern. So flood watches are still in place for much of our area. It's just the southwestern part of the area where the system has already cleared out, where we don't anticipate any more significant rainfall. So things will gradually be improving in that part of the area as we head through the next few hours. Those wind speeds are certainly picking up for us along the coast. These are the sustained winds from our reporting sites. 33 miles per hour at the airport, 34 for Hilton Head, 15 though for Beaufort, but that wind is going to be picking up in the next little bit. But this is certainly onshore, a little bit more parallel to the coast further to the south. You can see that center of that circulation more toward the Glenville area, making its way through the coastal empire. Those wind gusts, latest readings for McIntosh County, 26 miles per hour, but certainly picking up a little bit further to the north, and that's going to be the case over the next couple of hours. Still a concern for those winds, but not quite as a big concern as what we were looking at a little bit earlier, the system is really starting to weaken. Idalia is really starting to not look as good on as far as those winds for us. We're going to be looking at those tide levels just at 10 feet, just over 10 feet, so just over moderate flood stage. So I think we don't expect anything higher than that, but we still do run the risk of some pretty strong wind, at least wind gusts, over the next several hours. So definitely be prepared for that and stay hunkered down for the next few hours until this clears out. Meteorologist Sarah Tonks joins us now with more about the weather reports as far as severe reports and everything else that we have been seeing throughout the afternoon. Sarah?
Hi there, Scott. Well, some of the things that we have been seeing a lot of in our region are tornado warnings. Not all of them have validated into a tornado. We did, in fact, get one funnel cloud report. So that was the tornado warning by Statesboro. That wound up being a funnel cloud, which means it was spotted, but it did not actually touch the ground. We are also seeing reports of significant wind, thunderstorm wind gusts. And when I advance it to show what we're looking at, when you add in the tropical storm, nope, it just went somewhere else. Alrighty, of course it did. Give me just a second here. But here we go. This is what I want. Severe weather reports. All of those exclamation points, those are where we're looking at reports of tropical storm force conditions. Obviously, we have seen a lot of that in our region, and we're going to continue to see more. So a lot of these are wind damage or just significant wind reports. In our region, the main impact of those winds has been some damage and power outages. This is just a map of the colors ranging for how many customers are without power. Most of these power outages are fairly small. I've seen some on Tybee. Last I checked, Tybee had a few small-scale power outages, but some of those are a lot more impactful. You can see into Florida, they got hit a lot harder. And of course, the counties that are a bit more densely packed and populated, they have more people to lose power to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will continue to see that be a problem over the next few hours with those winds really picking up, but at least better weather is on the way once we get past tonight. We'll have a full check of the forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Scott. We are on your side, helping you keep ahead of the storm. So take out your phone right now and open your camera, and then you can scan this QR code you see there on your screen. That QR code will allow you to download the WSAV Weather Now app directly from your app store. It will let you keep up to date with the latest forecasts as well as watches and warnings as they are issued.
And if you haven't done so already, now is a good time to get our WSAV Storm Team 3 Hurricane Guide. Let me tell you, it's full of important, potentially life-saving information designed to keep you, your family, and your property safe. You can get it at wsav.com/Hurricane Central.
All right, right now we want to take you to Bullock County to find out how things are looking out there. WSAV's Eden Hodges joins us now live from the Bullock County Emergency Management Facility. Hey, Eden.
Hey, I'm in the Bullock County Emergency Operations Center, where they're taking calls from Bullock County, Candler, and Evans County. They ask that you do not clog these lines up with any non-emergency calls. If your power goes out, this is not the line to call. I'm going to take you into another room where they're tracking the storm. We're going to go through here. Through this room where they are, this is the Bullock County Emergency Operations Center. You can see they're monitoring the storms up here, tracking any kind of events and everything that happens in the county. Just a lot of rain, some wind. But they are working hard out here. And I'm gonna toss it back to you guys, Eden Hodges, WSAV News 3, on your side.
All right, Eden, thank you. Of course, we will continue to monitor the situation throughout our region. We're talking here in the Coastal Empire and Low Country as well.
Yeah, Eden taking us kind of into the belly of the beast there. That was nice to see how they're really keeping track of everything there.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Well-oiled machine up there. All right, everybody, stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to our continuing coverage of Hurricane Idalia as it moves across the state of Georgia and into South Carolina.
WSAV's Tyler Nicole is in downtown Savannah, and we want to check in with her now for what she's able to see as we continue to take a close look at Idalia.
Thanks, Edward and Tina. I am here on River Street, and as you can see behind me, the Savannah River is roaring right now. Wind gusts are picking up. I'm going to move out the way so you all can get a closer look. Wind gusts are picking up. The waves are going crazy right now. The rain has kind of calmed down a little bit, but Mayor Van Johnson wants everyone to still stay off the roads and stay home.
It feels good outside. There's some wind, so it's not humid, but yeah, it's a little wet. Yeah, but not bad. I'm a little excited. It's my first hurricane. Yeah, there we go.
So we still do have some people enjoying this storm. We have some that are taking shelter, but like I said, the mayor does want everyone to stay home until it is safe. Back to you, Tina and Edward.
We're certainly seeing much rougher conditions out on Tybee Island. In our Savannah camera view of South Beach, you can see the palm fronds really whipping in the winds. Those wind gusts have been picking up over the last couple of hours. This is the brunt of the wind that we are watching coming into our area. You can see that surf really picking up, and that tide is rising, and we could see it reach moderate flood stage as we head into the later evening hours. High tide is near 8 o'clock at Fort Pulaski, but current wind speeds for Hilton Head and Savannah are over 30 miles per hour. That main core of that wind is moving through our area with that center of circulation. So most places are seeing winds at least 15 to 20, 25 plus miles per hour. Wind gusts have been much higher, and we will add to these wind gusts. We did have a gust down in Darien reported of 55 miles per hour. The latest reading in Alma, 56 miles per hour. That is enough to cause some issues with trees down and causing power outages, which is what we have been seeing through this afternoon, and we will continue to see that into the evening until those winds start to calm down for us, but still pretty rough weather is expected for the next few hours. We will start to see some of our counties canceled out of the hurricane warnings and the tropical storm warnings further inland, more into the core of our viewing area. We will see those remain in place until that system is able to clear out of our area. That hurricane warning does include most of our counties, the counties highlighted in red throughout this evening. That does include the low country, but our Vipercast model indicating that by just after 8 o'clock, when we'll be looking at those strongest winds, they're going to already begin to blow offshore for us, where we are expecting those highest tides just past 8 o'clock. So that is good news. That will help to lessen the blow from that coastal flooding threat for us. We were originally projecting a high tide at Fort Pulaski of 10.3 feet. The National Weather Service has dropped that down to 10.1. It's not a huge difference, but that does mean a big change as far as the flooding level that we would expect. Major flooding starts at 10.5 feet, and that's when we would see the closure of Highway 80, typically heading out to Tybee Island. So it's good news that those winds are starting to blow offshore already before that highest tide begins to move in, and we will continue to have those wind gusts as we do head into the overnight hours. We do have Viper radar scanning the skies right now. We do just moments ago getting a tornado warning issued now. It looks like for Effingham County and into Screven County. Felissa, I just saw passing through this into the studio. We have Sarah Thompson there. If you guys can get the particulars on that warning for us. We also have flooding concerns there, but we do run the risk of having some tornadoes developing over the next couple of hours with the threat as that system is rolling through the area. So here we are zooming in there. There's that tornado warning on the border between Effingham County and into Screven County. As far as that, there's that warning. So if we can get the box on there and see when that is until, there's the live scan coming around. That is until 5:15. That is for Screven County in the extreme northern part of Effingham County. Everything is moving generally inland at about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So that's part of the reason, a pretty good clip, part of the reason why it's not taking much for those storms to start rotating. So that warning is in place for about 20 minutes for us as this is rolling through. It looks like it'd be the same type of situation as what we were seeing earlier, where stuff isn't totally defined on our radar, but there is just enough spin in the atmosphere where we would be dealing with that pretty much right along Highway 21 and just to the the west, just to the west of Ardmore in Effingham County. This will be crossing into Screven County in the next couple of minutes. So we would have a rain-wrapped tornado with this. So you're not going to see it. So if you're in anywhere the border area along Highway 21 into Effingham County and into Screven County, you want to get to that safe place because we are going to be dealing with this really the winds picking up pretty quickly in excess of 80, 85 miles per hour on top of the tropical storm winds that we have been looking at for us. So get to that safe place, get to the lowest level of your home, and stay there until this threat is able to pass. That warning is in place until 5:15 for us. And Alyssa is getting some updates now from the National Weather Service on the latest with the particulars with this warning. Alyssa.
Right. So it goes up until 5:15 today for the tornado warning for Screven and Effingham counties as we're watching this move over Egypt, moving to the north right at 20 miles per hour. So if we can time that out real quick, you can see that dark red area around that, or in the middle of that green. That's where we're seeing the strongest rotation right now in this warned storm. So right now we're tracking a time frame of right around Newington at 5:04, Oliver at 4:59. Again, this goes until 5:15, so we still have another 20-25 minutes-ish to get through before things are, we could see this be extended or expired.
Yeah, and right now in our Viper radar rotation detector, in that last scan, it looks like it was looking a little bit stronger. The scan just updated, Alyssa, if you notice, we see those not as strong not as strong as an indication there with this as is lifting northward, but there's still enough of a spin in the atmosphere that we need to be definitely be aware of that and take this warning seriously. We had funnel clouds reported out of some of the other warnings that have been rolling through, and we definitely can see the bright colors on our velocity product. This is indicative of some pretty strong wind, 40, 50 miles per hour rolling through. That is aloft, so you translate that down to the surface and you get a little bit more of that spin, so those winds would likely be a little bit stronger. And I think based upon this, we would be looking at that rotation pretty much right where our radar was mapping out, would be like right in this area, so near Oliver, moving to the northwest at about 20 miles per hour.
Right, so what we're looking at here on velocities, we're looking at greens and reds, and the lower part of that rotation Scott was just circling. It doesn't look like it's the green zone, but it is. When you have those colors mashed together that close, we are watching for winds going away and to the radar. Green winds are going towards the radar, while as red winds are going away from the radar. So you can slowly start to see that rotation as the winds are going to and from the radar site. And that radar site is in actually, it's up in Jasper County, as we can see that just off to the right.
Yeah, just near 278 in extreme northern Jasper County. And do want to mention, as we look more to the east with this, near Statesboro into Effingham County, we're still seeing those brighter colors of those winds. A lot of that looking like it's probably more straight line, but there is that risk where things could just start twisting very quickly, turning into that tornado, spinning up very quickly. And that's the thing that is really worrisome with tropical systems. It really does not take much for these storms to start spinning and spawning these destructive tornadoes.
And we've seen that all day long, from about 7 a.m. this morning all the way until 4:53. We've been tracking these tornado warnings. They've been isolated in nature, but we have been tracking some stronger rotation at times. And in these systems, while it's easy for them to rotate, it's easy for those spin-ups to fall apart too. So we've been watching for these quick spin-ups to spin up a quick tornado and then quickly fall apart within minutes. But as of right now, it's tracking, again, to the north, about 20 miles per hour. So Oliver around 4:57, watching for middle ground around 5:15, so on the very end of that warning. Now, of course, even though 5:15 seems minutes away, make sure you're getting to your safe spot now. Get ahead of the storm before that rotation comes your way.
Absolutely, and it looks like by the time it would make it to Hunters, it would be outside that warning. But we will have to see if this holds together.
Right.
Like Alyssa was talking about, they can spin up quickly, they can die off quickly. Right now, it's looking pretty decent, pretty. It's defined on radar at the moment, so we do have to take this warning seriously. So if you are in near the Oliver area, points northward into Newington, get to that safe place, that lowest level of your home, away from windows and doors. Cover yourself up. You should be at home, staying away from all those places anyway, simply because of the strong wind gusts. But with these stronger winds, it's that much more important for you to be heeding that warning seriously for until 5:15 with that warning.
And I keep checking back at our National Weather Service chat because the National Weather Service is the one that issues the warnings, and there's nothing new with the system. They're still tracking broad rotation around the Oliver area heading up towards Newington. So watching again that closely. I know I did mention hunters earlier, but that is just outside the warning. But of course, if we're going to continue to watch these systems move to the north-northwest, hunters, you are on that far outer edge side of that warning. So just make sure you're taking this as if the warning's over you right now, because there's a chance it could be extended up towards your area after that, Farmdale and Sylvania.
Yeah, and also in this type of situation, as it is moving in that area and potentially staying strong, it is a rain wrap situation. You're not going to be able to go out there and very easily be able to spot this type of tornadic setup, and that makes it especially more dangerous because you can't see it coming toward you if you are out in front of your house trying to spot this, to try to get that video. Don't do that. This is not the kind of data, especially to not do that as this is rolling through. So that warning is until 5:15. I think parts more into Effingham County, we will start to see that canceled out because it looks like the strongest part of that storm is now just to the north of Oliver right now along, that is Georgia Route 17. So definitely stay in that safe place.
Is our Barron button showing anything? Our Barron button is a cool tool we have with Viper radar that shows the strongest part of the storm, whether it be rain, winds, or rain, winds, or hail. Winds typically show where the rotation's at, and I can see right now we're not tracking any of those stronger winds. So just like what we tracked in velocity, as well as our shear rate, which shows the rotation of a storm, we're not seeing strong rotation. It's just more broad. But of course, in these systems, which we've been talking about all day long, they quickly spin up. So while this might be weakening right now, it could quickly spin up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And also with that, as it is going through that process, we could still be dealing with those extremely strong wind as we are seeing on radar, possibly transitioning to more of a linear feature, which would be good news. It would start to settle down a little bit, relatively speaking, as far as not being tornadic, but still we have to look at that possibility of those very strong wind rolling through in that warned area.
Yeah, I wanted to actually send it over to meteorologist Sarah Tonks real quick because she's going to give us a breakdown on what to do, where to go when we're talking about tornado warnings. Sarah?
All right, Alyssa, basically what we're looking at for tornado safety, it's something that we're going to keep touching on as the day progresses because it is very important. Tornado safety. A sturdy building is essential. If a mobile home is all you have access to, that is better than being outside, but a sturdy building, definitely the best. Head to an interior room with no windows on a low level. Protects your head. That might mean pillows, blankets, if you have a mattress that you can easily move around. If you want to wear a football helmet and it fits you comfortably, bring it with you. But pillows and blankets might be better if you have your pets and your loved ones that you're bringing with you, because you should be bringing them into that interior room with you as well. And make sure you're getting to a low level of the house. If you're on if you have a basement, go to the basement. If you don't have a basement, the first floor is a great option. Basically, just wherever you feel safe from the wind. Bathrooms are good because they usually have some fairly well insulated walls on the outsides, and then a tub. That gives you just a little bit more protection from the wind if anything falls, if there's any debris. Here's a look of that map. It shows the interior bathroom, sturdy buildings, lowest level, and make sure your head is protected, because if something falls and all else fails, protect the pretty much most delicate part of you and one of the most important, your head. Personally, I use a closet, and I always make sure I drag my dog Brody in there with me. He tends to get a little bit annoyed with me when I do so, but better him being annoyed with me than him being injured from a severe weather situation.
That's absolutely great advice there. We just got an update from the Weather Service. They have canceled out the warning for Effingham County, kind of looking at what we're seeing. If we can switch over to links 1, please. Thank you. There we go. That warning does not include Effingham County anymore. We're going to work to see if we have any damage reports from that. We'll be going through different Weather Service through the Weather Service office and the different EMA agencies to find that out. But it looks like it is starting to weaken just a little bit. It's a good sign that they haven't extended this further into Screven County, say up Highway 21. So it looks like that main part of that storm, it looks like we might have a little bit of rotation more into the Newington area. I see so the latest scan has come in for us. Definitely some very strong wind right there riding up Highway 21 now.
Well, the very latest from the National Weather Service, they did talk about dropping it for Effingham County, but they will continue the tornado warning for Screven County. That continues into Newington. They are talking about the rotation right over Oliver, heading to the northwest at around 20 miles per hour. So again, we're tracking that rotation right now near the Oliver area, just to the north of that, and that will continue to track towards the northwest at about 20. Let's time that out real quick, just to get an updated look at exactly where that rotation's heading. So like you said, we are tracking some stronger winds out there around the Newington area. Not so much in rotation, but with these winds, we've been tracking all day long tropical storm force wind gusts, at least picking up, I should say, after lunchtime today. And here's the latest update for where it's tracking. So Newington, 508, Middle Ground at 518, Hunters, again, that's just outside the warnings at 521. But of course, watching this closely because this could very well be extended. It looks like it's sort of weakening, broadening out right now.
Yeah, definitely. To me, it looks like on radar it's starting to broaden out, because especially with when we were doing the analysis of the actual radar data, truthfully, we're probably seeing some much stronger wind along Highway 21. When we're seeing 60-plus mile-per-hour winds aloft, translating that down, that's much stronger. So no doubt we're seeing some tropical storm force wind gusts with this as it is making its way. These storms are coming into Screven County. Elsewhere in the area, we are certainly seeing that as well. But our main focus at the moment is in that area right into the southeastern part near Newington of Screven County. So I want to broaden this out just a little bit, because not only are we dealing with that wind threat with these storms, these are the last strong storms kind of lifting through our area, the rain is still very intense, leading to those flooding concerns out there. We do have flood warnings in place until 8 o'clock for Hampton County, Screven County, and then down into the central part of the area until 7 o'clock for portions of Bullock County, Candler County until 7 and 8 o'clock. Evans County until 7, Tattnall County until 7. So this is going to be taking a little bit of time for this water to begin to recede a bit for us. So don't head out on the roadways anytime soon, especially in those areas with the wind and that heavy rain setting up. It's not a good situation to be out there on the roadways.
You know, we've been tracking this system for the last couple of days. It made landfall as a Category 3 hurricane earlier this morning around the Big Bend area, and then it made its way up towards the coastal empire and low country, gradually weakening. Now, as it made its way through the coastal empire, it picked up a decent amount of rain as well as wind, but I did want to mention that the level pressure, the pressure out towards Alma as the system was passing, is now the second lowest on record at 984 millibars. The first on record is 975. So it showed a very strong system passing through as it made its way just through Alma up to the coastline, still tracking some very strong winds out there. You can see all those bright reds, that line, really that curved line around, from Ridgeland all the way down to Vidalia, Reedsville. Very strong winds where the center of the system is sort of just off to, I would say, from Savannah, just to our south, maybe making its way in.
Yeah, perhaps somewhere into the Vidalia area. And we just did receive the update on
a notepad from Sarah.
On the system. On Idalia.
It is now a tropical storm.
And here we go. We have the latest statistics here. 70 mile per hour sustained wind, 85 mile per hour wind gusts. So this is the latest from the Hurricane Center. It's still picking up speed to the northeast at 21 miles per hour. So we will be looking at that clearing out of our area as we head into the evening hours, which does mean, Alyssa, does have a better chance that the strongest winds they're the ones moving through for us right now. And as that's the case now, since it's now just 5 o'clock, we're a few hours ahead of schedule, so it looks like it won't be lining up with high tide in the way that we were expecting. So that is lessening that blow for the coast. So this is looking like it's probably going to end up being more of the inland rain event for us, and now a little bit with the wind with this setting up for us, certainly with these tornadoes coming through.
Sure. In a typical coastal flooding event, we see elevated high tide levels 2 hours before and 2 hours after high tide. So that would be really from 6 p.m. tonight all the way to 10, 11 p.m. later. If we continue to see those offshore winds continue to pick up, pushing that water farther offshore, it's looking like we'll still see some coastal flooding out there. It just won't be as significant as it could have been if the system slowed down over land, which is what was expected from the National Hurricane Center. And I wanted to show something real quick. If you could pull up the rain currently over Statesboro. because we just got a report from the National Weather Service that they're getting some preliminary reports of water about to flood homes near the Statesboro area.
Okay,
and I can see that definitely being from all the heavy rain that's been moving over top of that area over the last couple of hours.
Yeah.
And look at that 24-hour rainfall.
Yeah,
total.
those colors, the purple, that's indicating rainfall amounts over 6 inches. So we're seeing 7 inches here on Viper radar, and this is over the past 24 hours. And the bulk of that rain had been falling in throughout today, since the morning hours. So this is a lot of rain all at once. This is what we've been expecting, almost more of a heavy rain event for some parts of our area. And that's what's coming to fruition, unfortunately, with that flooding concern becoming a much greater concern as this rain continues to fall at copious amounts. Those rainfall rates have been over several inches per hour. We can check that out right now. Near an inch per hour. Not quite as high as what we were seeing in some other parts of the area, but up to about 1.5 inches for areas near Statesboro. So there's no doubt that we're going to see more of those flooding issues over the next little while with this.
Right, and we've been talking about how the impacts sort of are going to come in 2 parts. One will be the coastal winds and how strong they're going to be because there's no friction over water. So that's going to allow all those winds to stay at hurricane or tropical storm force intensity and reach land. The other part is going to be from those rain bands that are moving over our inland areas where we're picking up 6 to 7 inches of rain. So 2 parts there along the coastline. The rain isn't going to be your main focus. It's going to be those winds. Farther inland, it will be the rain as well as the possibility for an isolated tornado, which we're still seeing. That tornado warning over Newington, Oliver, goes until 5:15.
All right, now as far as that going until 5:15, it looks like based upon our radar estimates that is really starting to break down a bit. But we are, just like what we've been talking about throughout the day with the tornado threat, notice on this is our product that shows rotation. Wherever we see colors, those blotches of the greens up to the reds and even bright yellows where we would have an extreme situation is based upon the key that we see on the top of your screen. That's where we have to watch out for some of that rotation. We are seeing that in some other parts of the area, not quite as strong as what we were seeing originally in FEM County, but it looks like we are going to allow this warning to be able to expire. But those winds, even without the tornado, are remaining pretty strong for us in that mid part of the viewing area.
You wanted to show that earlier. I had interrupted you to get to the rain because of that storm report in Statesboro.
Oh, yes.
But you were showing those wind speeds as we go into the next couple of hours.
Yeah, here we go. We'll go through this, and then we'll go ahead and transition back to the news, just so the control room can get things ready and racked and everything, so we can get on with other important parts of this story. Because as much as it's a weather thing, it is a news thing with all the information that we are getting in from our field reporters. But over the next few hours, we are going to see those winds really pick up, especially along the coast, still into the 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock hour, still pushing tropical storm strength for us. And it's not out of the question that we do end up still with some gusts approaching hurricane force, though I think as the system is weakening, that wind field is starting to broaden out a bit, weakening with that is going to become what of a little bit of a less of a concern, but still, tropical storm force wind gusts are enough to cause some damage and to create more power outages. So we're not out of the woods yet with what we'll be dealing with that.
Yeah, you just did mention how they start to extend outward, those tropical storm force winds. And right now, with it now a stronger tropical storm, it does still extend 205 miles from the center. And with our coastline being on the right side, the stronger side, it's not out of the question that we continue to see those wind gusts, at least over the next couple of hours. Yeah,
so for now, we'll be monitoring what's going on right now. We still have that wind threat for us.
There it is. They expired it.
There we go. You heard it here first on Storm Team 3, but stay weather alert. We still do run the risk of having some of these stronger winds moving through and also that off chance of a few isolated tornadoes. Well, we'll bring the latest to you coming up in just a few moments, but Tina and Ben, over to you.
All right, Scott, Alyssa, thank you. And we will continue our coverage. As you just heard from Storm Team 3, the storm has been downgraded to a tropical storm.
We're going to check in with our crews in the field right now, right after this. Stay with us. Now on News 3 at 5, we have crews on the ground across the coastal empire and Lowcountry reporting on Idalia. We are live with what you need to know.
You're watching WSAV on your side. Now, WSAV News 3 at 5.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tina Tyus-Shaw.
And I'm Ben Singer. Thank you for joining us. We do begin with meteorologist Scott Roberts. He has the latest on the storm track and the fact that it's been downgraded to a tropical storm.
Yeah, Idalia has been downgraded. It is now a tropical storm with 70-mile-per-hour sustained winds estimated by the National Hurricane Center. So that's a 5 o'clock. Wind gusts as high as 85 miles per hour have been measured. This is picking up speed, moving northeast at 21 miles per hour. And one thing to show that it is weakening, the pressure is starting to rise. So significantly it is starting to rise compared to when it was a major hurricane making landfall on the Florida coast. So this is moving northeasterly at 21 miles per hour, so by 2 o'clock in the morning, that does make it that it is, at least that center, is going to be in the Grand Strand of South Carolina, pushing into the Outer Banks and becoming an issue for the Outer Banks as far as storm surge and everything that comes along with that, with the high wind that we will be tracking. So that will be clearing out. So really the worst of the wind is setting up for us now a few hours sooner than what we were originally anticipating. So that is definitely good news for our coastal flooding threat, as those winds are picking up very strong onshore. Latest reading at Hilton Head Airport, 42 miles per hour, definitely pushing that water in. We're going to get a check on those tides for you so we can see where those levels are. That tide is still rising. We're just still getting past our low tide just a couple of hours ago, but wind gusts over 40 miles per hour for a large portion of the area now, with the exception of a couple spots like Glenville, Statesboro, and Hinesville, 20 miles per hour, 16 miles per hour for Rincon, but we could still see those wind gusts really picking up over the next couple hours, likely in that tropical storm range. Now, something that has come out with this latest advisory also, because it is no longer a hurricane, the hurricane watches and warnings have been allowed to expire. We still do have those tropical storm warnings in place for the entire viewing area for the coastal empire and into the low country, and we will see this extend into South Carolina, Charleston, and into the Myrtle Beach area as we head into the overnight hours. But little by little, as that center of circulation begins to pull away from our area, as it's moving into the northern part of our area, we'll start to see some of our counties canceled out of that warning as those winds start to weaken, likely as we head past the dinner time hour, perhaps with one of the subsequent advisories as we head into 8 o'clock. We would see that be the likelihood for us. But as far as the next few hours into 8 o'clock, still some very strong winds are likely. We'll have another full check of the forecast coming up in just a few moments.
All right, Scott, thank you. On Tybee Island, there is concern for flooding. It's always, in fact, during storms. Officials there already reporting some signs of water levels rising. WSAV News 3 Sarah Smith is live from Tybee Island with a look now at what conditions are like there. Sarah?
Hey Tina, not much flooding going on now, but Highway 80 is open. We're in touch with officials right now to see if it will close if and when high tide does overtake the highway. Take a look out on the beach. You can see the wind is just pushing those trees, bushes, and sand. Very, very strong winds out here on Tybee Island. Now take a look at this video. Just hours ago, there was very little rain and a good amount of wind. Since then, conditions have definitely gotten stronger as the storm moves in. Tybee Mayor Shirley Sessions urging people on the island to stay indoors during the storm.
We do ask that residents and businesses stay off the streets during the bad weather and just make good decisions, check in on their neighbors, make sure that they keep an eye on their pets, have them safe, and remind people that do not tether any pets.
Here, it is just a tropical storm now, but there is no curfew for Tybee Island. However, the beach is still closed. No rescue officials or lifeguards are out on the beach right now. Back to you.
Sarah, thank you. There is a lot of information about road closures and power outages and more coming into the WSAV newsroom. We are on your side with what you need to know about those situations. WSAV's Patty Turner joining us now from there with an update. Patty.
Hey, Ben, yes, we're keeping a close eye on the power outages because since the last time we talked to you, the number of outages have gone up significantly. We're looking at the Georgia power outage map right here, and you can see that the areas that are lit up in bluish gray, there are more than almost 2,000 people without power in those different areas. And Coastal Electric, Bryan, Liberty, and McIntosh counties and Long counties, the number of power outages has risen to 7,000. And in Palmetto Electric, the customers there, for our South Carolina viewers, more than 9,000 people were without power, mainly near 95 south of Ridgeland. Now, for a full list of the closures in town, some of the schools that are still closed tomorrow, and more information on the power outages, just go to WSAV.com.
All right, Patty, thank you. And right now we want to head to Bryan County. That's where WSAV News 3's Nakaya Harris has been throughout the day. She is joining us to share what the situation is like there. Nakaya?
Hey, Tina, as the storm passes through, wind continues to pick up. And we have an update from the county. Not too long ago, county officials tell me there are a few power outages around the Richmond Hill High School area. They even have a few generators going in some county buildings. They also tell me there's a tree down at Port Royal Road. They want people in the area to continue to shelter in place as the storm passes. Now, again, Bryan County officials are urging people to stay home. If it's not an emergency, you don't need to be on the road, just stay home. Reporting here in Bryan County, Nakaya Harris, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Nakaya, thank you. Several shelters are open and available for anyone who may need a safe place to go during the storm. In Bullitt County, the Open Hearts Community Mission on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive and the Habitat for Humanity on Johnson Street are open right now. If you're in Effingham County, you can go to the Effingham County Action Pact on Riverside Avenue or the Trutland House that's on Old Augusta Central Road. And out in Evans County, the Service Senior Center Claxton on Highway 280 is open. That's in case you need somewhere to shelter from the storm in that area. For the full list of available shelters and resources, you can visit wsav.com/Idalia.
WSAV's Eden Hodges has been in Bullitt County monitoring the situation with the weather there. She is joining us now from the Bullitt County Emergency Operations Center. Eden, what can you tell us?
Hey, I'm at the Bullitt County Emergency Operations Center. They're telling me that they're getting a lot more calls as, the rain is getting heavier and the wind is coming in. They said that there's a large volume of rain in the county right now. It's really kind of a rain event here. Some trees down on some roadways and some real tough winds out there. That's all I got here. I'll toss it back to y'all. Eden Hodges, WSAV News 3, on your side.
All right, Eden, thank you so much. Here's something to point out, and it's not specific to Bullitt County or Beaufort, any of the counties we're covering today. We know that there's been a push from emergency managers and people who are first responders to make sure that people are only calling 911 at this time for an urgent emergency. There are other numbers to call. In Savannah, for example, that number is 311. You can call that if you need some help that's not an urgent emergency, but they really need to keep those phone lines open for the people who are in dire need of their services right now. And of course, they don't want to send people into harm's way for things that are not at that urgent level as well. Now, WSAV's Joseph Leonard is in the Low Country for us today. He is joining us live from Beaufort County with how things are looking there at this hour.
So right now we're live at the Shelter Cove Marina at the Elsa restaurant. The wind is picking up and the rain is following right now. We saw a few restaurants closing down. We also saw a few people.
All right, so here's just some of the things you need to know. We did lose connection with Joseph there. Now, the town of Hilton Head is under a state of emergency. Beaufort County has one as well. That means the town has the authority to prepare for and respond to any impacts brought on by the storm. It also allows the sheriff's office to authorize any curfews or short-term measures that they may need. But here's the thing, there is no curfew right now on Hilton Head or in Beaufort County. The town's emergency manager, who says the storm is moving faster than originally thought, so that means that we could see heavy rain and wind sooner. You heard our meteorologist say that as well. So his advice is to get ready now.
With the timing moved up, it's time to go ahead and go back home, hunker down, and wait this thing out. We don't want you on the roads. We don't want you moving around, because once the wind starts picking up, with all the rain we've had, there's a chance for trees to come down. And they still have us in a high risk for tornadoes. So once the storm fully gets here, we have the potential for tornadoes, winds, trees down. So go home, hunker down, and just wait for it to be over. And it will move off fairly quickly.
Before we get to our next report, we want to head over to Storm Team 3 meteorologist Scott Roberts. Scott, I understand you have some new information for us?
Yeah, speaking of tornadoes in that last story, if we can bring up, there we go. We have a new tornado warning that has been issued for portions of Jasper County and into Hampton County. That's until 5:45. That's near the Deloach area near Pineland. The storm is prompting a tornado warning, where, just as we've been talking about over the last couple of hours, it's not taking much for these storms to produce tornadoes with brief spin-up tornadoes, and we are seeing the likelihood of that making its way into that Furman area. And as far as that warning along 601, including Stokes, Furman, and Scotia, with that storm making its way into the area, as far as what we were seeing as those updates. And these winds would be in excess of 80, 85 miles per hour, with that on top of the wind gusts that we are already watching in the way of those tropical storm winds that have really been increasing for our area. So definitely get to that safe location away from windows and doors. You shouldn't be outside. This is one of those situations, again, where this tornado would be rain wrapped with it. You can see all that heavy rain. This is the last leading edge of that heaviest rainstorm, rain bands with this system as it is rolling through the area. And so get to that safe place, stay away from those windows and doors. And as far as the particulars, we have the data here from the Weather Service.
Right, so this warning does go up until 5:45, so we still have about 20 minutes to go on this warning as it's continuing to track to the northwest at about 35 miles per hour. And we're watching it very closely as we're watching for the possibility for it to be located near Pineland. And that's going to continue to track off to the northwest. So timing that out as we continue to go into the next couple of minutes, because this is, like Scott's been saying, these systems all day long have been completely rain wrapped, meaning there's so much rain coming down along with this system that it's just incredibly hard to see. So make sure you're not going outside to try to see a tornado. Make sure you're getting to your safe spot and staying there until the storm passes as you go into the next couple of minutes, because these are fast moving storms. It is, again, moving to the northwest at about 35 miles per hour.
35 miles per hour. Let me update that. I missed that in there when I was getting the setup. That means that it's a little bit less lead time for you as you're upstream of this warning. So I want to make sure that you have plenty of lead time as this is moving into our view, or moving through our viewing area. So that's into Hampton County. Again, that warning till 5:45. Here's a timeline of those times of arrival for us, right over Deloach right now, and it will be moving into Eastville by 5:37. So definitely moving pretty quickly. Doesn't leave you much lead time to get to that safe place.
Well, the warning is for Jasper and Hampton County, but if you zoom out just a little bit, you can see how the far edge of that warning is into Jasper, where a lot of the heavy rain and that rotation is just north of the county line. So I think it's fair to say that Jasper, you are in the clear for this warning.
Yeah.
Not completely out of the clear just yet for an additional warning, but for this one, at least starting in Deloach, we're watching for that rotation to begin.
Yeah, and on the radar, we can see it's kind of not very well defined on our velocity product. We can see those reds and greens kind of setting up there, but not looking that great. But as we look in the actual radar feed, we can see this little in notch here. This is likely where we would have any kind of rotation right in this area, right along 601. So definitely get to that safer location until this warning is able to pass. I think Jasper County, you're relatively safe at this point, still dealing with the straight line winds that are coming along with the tropical storm as it is rolling through our area. It is moving pretty quickly now, picking up speed, and we do still have this likelihood of these spin-up tornadoes developing for us. So definitely get to that safer location until this does pass. And along with that tornado threat, we are definitely dealing with a lot of heavy rain with this as it's rolling through, and we are dealing with some what could be some pretty significant flooding in some of our interior counties, especially into Bullitt County, points further south, where we do have multiple flood warnings in place.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about how the system is completely rain wrapped up in Hampton County. So if you go to show everyone how fast the rain is coming down, it is coming down incredibly fast and so hard at the same time that you really won't be able to see any tornado, any cloud out there. So make sure you are just staying inside a lowest level interior room, away from windows until the storm passes or continues to weaken. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to point out that something that we haven't seen much earlier with these storms rolling through. We do have a spot near, just to the south of Sylvania near Newington with over 2 inches per hour as far as the rainfall rate. That is significant, and we will see those totals really add up pretty quickly. So in this part of the viewing area, pretty much from Statesboro northward, northeastwardly into Hampton County, Screven County, that's where we do have the heaviest and the strongest rain, the possibility of those strongest storms potentially producing tornadoes as this is rolling through. So these are not a great situation weather-wise. You definitely want to stay away from those windows and doors because even without the tornado warning, we are dealing with those stronger winds and that potential for flooding. So you need to hide from the wind, and if that water starts coming in and causing some issues, you definitely need to run from that water.
That's right. Right. This warning goes up until 5:15. You click on our shear rate real quick. 5:45. I'm sorry, 5:45. So we have another about 20 minutes to go, and of course the system is booking it towards the northwest, around 35 miles per hour. So we are watching the system quickly pick up speed. So Furman, Scotia, you are next up on the list of seeing that rotation move through. So a heads up again, you will want to get to your safe spot as soon as you can. And even outside this warning, as it continues to show strong rotation out there, you're going to want
right in here.
Right, exactly. Where all those dark reds are around the green, that's where we're watching for the strongest area of rotation.
And that means you need to be in that safe place right now if you're not there already. This is quickly moving off to the northwest, over 25 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour. But either way, moving fast, moving faster than what we typically see as far as thunderstorms that are rolling through that are potentially producing tornadoes.
Right, and we had just gotten done talking about how Jasper County, while you are in the far eastern warning, that portion has been dropped. So we're watching for this warning just to continue. For Hampton County, not out of the question though, for Jasper County, Beaufort County, to see an additional tornado warning be issued as we head to the next couple of hours, as those far outer rain bands once again show the potential for rotation. And we do have a tornado watch for the low country up until 10 p.m. tonight. And even in parts of coastal Georgia, we are also watching that tornado watch be extended up until 10 p.m. So out until 6 p.m. So we have about a half hour to go for that one. We're not out of the clear yet with this tornado threat. We'll continue to watch the heavy rain, the gusty winds, as well as the possibility for rotation continue to pick up as we go into the next couple of hours.
Yeah, and as far as those winds that we're going to be watching, even without the tornadic development, they're going to be very strong. This is our Vipercast model stepping through time. You can see it indicating that pretty close to where the Hurricane Center has the center of Idalia kind of placed. Pretty close to where it is in reality. So our model's doing a pretty good job of really representing what the storm is doing. And we do have that likelihood of these stronger winds really picking up over the next few hours, especially along the coast. Things will begin to settle down a little bit as we do head into the early evening hours. Still at this point, for some parts of the southeast, we will still have the threat for tornadoes. But at this point, because the system has been so lopsided as far as where the rain and the strongest rain bands have been setting up, it looks like at this point we should be seeing that tornado threat begin to diminish, which would go in line with that tornado watch canceling out for the low country right around 10 o'clock as we do head into the later evening hours of tonight.
Right, so again, we're still watching those very outer rain bands right along the center, I should say, of that system bring with it very heavy rain. And you can see our far southern communities pretty much done with the rain, maybe some light rain showers here and there, but even north of I-16, Statesboro, watching for Sylvania, Hampton, seeing those heavy rain bands continue to stream onshore from the coastline, pushing farther inland. So again, we're not out of the clear just yet, watching for this tornado warning to continue for Hampton County up until 5:45, and we're still watching for some weak rotation, but the rotation is there.
Absolutely, and whenever it is there, even when it is weak, in a situation like this, it doesn't take much for it to reach the surface, as Liz has been talking about. In our rotation detector here, looks like it is starting to show signs of weakening, similar to what we're seeing on, you can step this back in time, last few minutes, you can see how it intensified, and then starting to die off a little bit just as that warning was able to update. So I think in the next couple of minutes, we should see this situation begin to improve as far as that tornado warning allowed to expire at 5:45, if not a little bit sooner. So as far as tornadic stuff, looking okay.
Let's go to velocity real quick, zooming on in, just to see, besides our shear rate, if we still see where the rotation really is at.
Yeah.
Because it was over Deloach earlier. Now it's heading off towards the west. So watching this still closely.
Yeah, and
as
it
we
looks
go into the
like
next few hours.
yeah, and it looks like in this area is where we would have some at this point, possibly some of that weaker rotation. So this is starting to broaden out a little bit. Still a windy situation out there, as you would expect, with the tropical storm rolling through. But as far as the tornado in this area, in the warned area into Hampton County, we are seeing that begin to diminish a little bit. And again, that warning is in place for Hampton County until 5:45.
Right, so this system has really come in two parts. We've had those rain bands move in, so the rain and the wind. For our far inland communities and right along the coastline this morning, we've been tracking the heavy rain. Along the coastline, we've been tracking those strong winds, and we'll continue to do so as the center of it passes through the coastal empire into the low country from now through this evening. But one thing we've been tracking and watching for later on tonight will be the high tide at Fort Pulaski at 8 p.m. They're still watching for it to have some flooding out there, but not going to be significant flooding, as we are watching for that offshore wind to finally begin to move on in as we head towards that flooding timeline. But of course, we still have the full moon, we still have elevated tides, we still have a tropical storm moving over us. We're going to still see some coastal flooding out there.
Right, absolutely. At least not quite as widespread as what we were originally looking at. And for what Alyssa said, with the strongest onshore winds not coinciding with the high tide exactly, we're still going to be talking about those elevated tides because of that full moon. We would have been getting into the 9-foot-plus tide range even without Idalia making its way through the area. So when you add in that possibility of those really strong onshore winds, which was the case for today, those tides are going to certainly remain elevated for us. So that's definitely going to be something we're going to be watching out for. So as far as that tornado warning, still active for now over Hampton County until 5:45, but I think we are going to start to see that able to expire in the next couple of minutes. It's 5:33 on the clock now, so we are getting pretty close to that time. We are still seeing some signs of some strong winds certainly rolling through that part of the area, with those wind gusts possibly in excess of 50 and 60 miles per hour, and that's pretty widespread for everywhere that we are seeing those strongest heavy downpours. That is indicative of those stronger rain bands, and this is really the last hurrah as far as the heavy rain, though we will be continuing to track that heavier rain as we heavier, stronger wind as we head into the next several hours, as tropical storm warnings are still in place for the next several hours. So for now, we're going to step back from this for the moment. We're going to take a break from weather. We'll have more coming up in just a few moments. We are tracking Idalia as it is making its way through our area. The strongest, heaviest rain is now pushing into the northern parts of our area. We do have a tornado warning in place for a small portion of Hampton County for another couple of minutes. It's 5:38 until 5:45, so I think we're going to see that expire. That is near the Furman area, just south of Eastville. But either way, all along this, as far as that heavy rain setting up, that's where we could also have some pretty strong wind gusts embedded, and we still do have that potential for other spots of this area of very heavy rain to start rotating. It may prompt more tornado warnings over the next couple of hours, so we definitely need to stay vigilant with that and be ready to react, getting to that lowest level of your home. And everything that does develop as far as tornadic activity with this type of setup, with a tropical storm rolling through, it is going to be rain wrapped, so very dangerous if you try to go outside. You won't see it. You might just all of a sudden have the very strong, intense wind gusts going from what was kind of breezy with the tropical storm winds, but then enhanced with that before you even know it, with that rain really picking up. We can see the southern part of the area starting to die down a little bit as far as the rainfall, but with this movement, this rotation of that system, that's where we are seeing those winds wrapping around. So over the next few hours, we are still going to be dealing with the potential for tropical storms, sustained winds, and tropical storm force wind gusts, especially along the coast. So you can see over the past few hours that center really kind of unraveling as it makes its way northward into our area near Alma. That's where it was moving through first, but now that strongest part from what is left over from that eye wall, it is lifting northward. So finally we will start to see that heavy rain, which has been a major issue for areas out into Bullitt County and points all around Statesboro, into Hampton County, Screven County, down into Tattnall County, in Montgomery and Toombs County, with flash flooding for today. And here's the reason why. Rainfall amounts over the last 24 hours have been over 5 and 6 inches. We've also had some spots where Viper Radar is estimating over 7 inches. And just as expected, this has been more of an interior viewing area flooding potential for us, and that's what we are seeing right now, more toward the coast. We're not going to be adding significantly to these rainfall totals, but with those strong winds coming on shore right now, we still do run the risk of having significantly higher than normal tides. But since the timing has sped up, those winds are going to start to become a little bit more offshore before high tide. So that could help to lessen that impact a little bit, but still elevate it, primarily because of the full supermoon that we are dealing with across the, well, for all of us, that's what we are dealing with. But wind speeds right now, 35 miles per hour on Hilton Head. Same thing for Darien. Certainly likely seeing higher wind gusts in the interior parts of the area. Right now, the highest readings that we are seeing, 40 miles per hour for Metter, 44 for Idalia. So that's that wind wrapping around that center. That's what's going to be working its way through as we head into the next couple of hours. So definitely the next few hours into the early evening hours, 7, 8, and 9, we will be dealing with that potential for those tropical storm force winds. We do have the tropical storm warning in place for the entire viewing area for now because of that potential for those strong winds. But you notice we don't have those hurricane warnings in place because the system is now weakening. So that will continue to occur as long as the system is on land, even as it's pushing offshore. We'll be looking at that being the case. So hour by hour into 9 and 10 o'clock, still that center of circulation from Idalia making its way through the northern parts just outside of our area into the low country. We'll have more of that offshore flow as opposed to that onshore flow, but just off of the coast, that's where those winds are going to remain much stronger for us, especially right along that coastal area. So definitely watch out for that. We still do run the risk of power outages. Even during the overnight hours, conditions will still be somewhat on the breezy and gustier side, with that main center pushing more toward into Myrtle Beach as we do head into the overnight hours. It's really not going to be until early tomorrow morning when some of us will start to see those winds really calm down, but more toward the coast, things will still start to pick up a bit for us. And also that rainfall still a concern for the next couple of hours with those strongest rain bands in the northern parts of our area. These are totals on top of what we've already received. So that flooding still remains a major concern, along with spin-up tornadoes and everything that comes along with the tropical system. Of course, extremely strong and gusty wind. We'll have another update from weather coming up in a few moments.
Scott, thank you. Idalia continues to move along the East Coast and is expected to impact areas as far north as North Carolina.
We do want to get the latest from Wendy Woolfolk now. She has more from Charleston.
Even though Idalia has weakened over land, emergency officials here in South Carolina are warning residents not to let their guard down yet. While people here in the Low Country are no strangers to flooding, businesses here in the downtown area putting down sandbags and even putting up plastic for a little bit of extra protection, with as much as an 8-foot storm surge predicted here during high tide later this evening. Local government offices and most businesses have closed early so employees don't have to drive through the incoming tropical storm force winds and rain throughout the evening. The city also offering free parking in garages so residents can get their vehicles out of harm's way. With another rain band picking up here again, this has been a fast-moving storm, but for the Carolina region, the worst is yet to come. Governor Henry McMaster reminding all residents to be prepared, but not to panic. That's the latest here in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm Wendy Woolfolk. Now back to you.
We do want to get to some video that our viewers have been sending us. So we want to show you this one that comes to us from Bullitt County. So this is sort of the scene there. We know they've seen a lot of the rainfall that we've had today. So you see some of that ponding on these particular yards right here. This video taken a short time ago. And this is what folks can expect. This is one of the reasons why they don't want you to leave your house right now, because this ponding could, in fact, affect travel on the roadways there. We know that the similar scenes are happening in other parts of our area. A few moments ago, we learned that a key neighborhood here is blocked by a downed tree.
Yes, absolutely. That's in the Dutch Island neighborhood, and we will hopefully be able to show you that picture our general managers has sent in to us shortly. Right now, we also want to continue to share, well, video just stopped, but that is the flooding there in Bullitt County. We're going to take a quick break, regroup, and we will be right back with our continuing coverage of Tropical Storm Idalia.
All right, stepping outside on the Savannah River, we can see that gray sky. The winds are whipping in Savannah. Not as bad looking in this vantage point upstream from the coast, but out on Tybee Island, switching over to our Savannah cam on South Beach, we can definitely see the surf picking up.
Look at that.
Absolutely. A big change from the last hour when we were looking at the same vantage point. Those wind gusts are definitely picking up there, and we are seeing those conditions deteriorate. As far as those waves are much bigger. And definitely we can see a difference in the water levels there a little bit.
Absolutely. We're watching for that onshore wind right now, probably to be at its strongest, at its closest to the coastline. While it doesn't look great outside right now, this is the sort of the timeline of what we want. We want these onshore winds to move in ahead of high tide, which is right around 8, 9 o'clock later on tonight.
Absolutely. So this coming in now, as bad it is, as rough it is as it is, especially for those coastal areas dealing with this, it's relatively good news with this type of timing, with the storm coming through a little bit sooner.
Right. It decreases our chance for significant coastal flooding. We'll still see some. We still have elevated tides with a full moon. We still have a strong tropical system moving through the coastal empire and low country. So that's not out of the question. It's just going to decrease our chance to see that significant flooding threat that we could have seen if this moved in a little bit slower.
Absolutely. And right now, as you talked about with the strongest winds coming through now, these are sustained winds, at least from our reporting sites around the coastal empire and low country. Out at Hilton Head, the airport, 28 miles per hour. When you factor in those wind gusts as far as that, they are much stronger. And of course, we will continue to see this as an issue over the next few hours. That's it for us in the corner in the weather department for the moment. We're going to send it over to Tina and Ben with another look at things around the area.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We'll get back to you in a moment. We want to get to our South Carolina Capitol newsroom now. Officials at the State Emergency Operations Center are, of course, monitoring the storm closely.
And WSAV's Jason Raven is there to tell us all about it.
We're here at the State Emergency Operations Center where they are currently operating at OpCon 2. Now, officials say this center will remain staffed around the clock until this event is over. Impacts will vary on where you are throughout South Carolina. State leaders say they have open shelters in some areas and have crews pre-positioned to respond to the storm. Here at the State Emergency Operations Center, officials say their focus is on responding to county requests. And during an update this afternoon, Governor Henry McMaster said the state is prepared. Here's what he had to say to South Carolinians about this storm.
Stay home tonight. Don't go sightseeing to see what's happening. Don't go driving around. There's nothing good going to come from that. So, we've been through this before. We've been through a lot worse than this one appears to be. So we are ready. Your team all across the state is ready, and we want everybody to be as ready and prepared. Don't panic, but be prepared and get your information from official sources.
Now, officials say they are anticipating power outages throughout the state. They say if you do lose power, report that outage to your power company or utility. From the State Emergency Operations Center, I'm Jason Raven.
Continuing our coverage now, we want to show you some video. This is of a tree down at the corner of Waters and Bobby Drive in Idalia. It's near Sally Meadows Elementary School. And the homeowners there say that they heard a pop, something like a boom, reminiscent of thunder. Minutes later, police arrived along with the fire department, and the homeowners also tell WSAV that their home is only down internet right now, so they don't have internet, but they cannot speak for their neighbors.
So that video taken a few hours ago. This is a live look here now at what our conditions are on the Savannah River. Not too bad out there right now. There is still a lot of moisture on the radar, a lot of concerns that our meteorologists are tracking down for you. We're going to have the latest from them coming up right after this.
We are definitely feeling the effects of Idalia as it is making its way through the coastal Empire and Low Country. We're really seeing the conditions out on Tybee Island deteriorating over the last couple of hours. The tide went out, but now those stronger winds are coming in on shore, and we can definitely see those swells looking like perhaps 5 and 6 foot waves out there. So that level is going to begin to really increase with that strong wind, but at least the one good tidbit of information in the forecast is that the strongest winds are coming in right now, and they're not going to be coinciding with that astronomical high tide that we are expecting with the full moon right around 8 o'clock. So as far as the rest of this evening, the wind is going to remain a concern for us. The heavy rain, that threat is starting to end, though some of us in the northern parts of the area certainly still dealing with that heavier rain, that possibility of an isolated tornado or two developing, but that tropical storm wind is going to be the primary concern once that heaviest rain really begins to exit the region as that center of circulation is lifting northward through the area. So definitely something we're going to be watching out for most of our area as far as those wind speeds picking up for us. Wind gusts as high as 36 miles per hour on Hilton Head, and as far as those sustained wind speeds, we're seeing similar conditions to that. Noticing that there might be an instrumentation issue there. The current wind speed of 36 is the same as that gust, but based upon how things look at Tybee Island, likely seeing 50-plus mile per hour wind gusts, certainly not out of the question for those immediate coastal areas. So definitely batten down the hatches in that part of the area. Wind gusts in Savannah as high as 28. Richmond Hill, 38 miles per hour. But notice inland, we are seeing some of that wraparound winds coming in from the north and the northwest. That's starting to pick up into pretty close to tropical storm strength, 44 miles per hour for Idalia. That definitely is in that range. So that's what we're going to be watching moving through as we head into the later evening hours, especially along those coastal areas. That main core by 9 and 9:30 will be exiting the low country for our coverage area, moving more towards Charleston. And so those winds are going to be gusting on and off the route tonight. For some areas that will start to calm down as we get that onshore wind for the next few hours. The tide is going to remain a concern. 10.1 feet is the forecast tide level at Fort Pulaski. A little bit below major flood stage of 10.5 feet, so that's an improvement in our forecast, but this is still enough to cause some concerns. But at least as we do head into the later evening hours, those winds will turn to become more offshore, and that's when things will really start to somewhat improve for us as we head into the overnight hours. But heavy rain still rolling through much of the northern parts of the area, especially into Hampton County, Screven County. You can see the areas further to the south. Just some showers, but still those winds are going to be picking up for us as the system is spinning right over us. Idalia definitely dumping a lot of heavy rain. That flooding is a concern. Viper radar picking up over 6 inches of rain, and we're going to be adding on to that for some of us in the northern parts of the area. So definitely looking out for that. That flooding concern remains for us. We're going to toss it over to meteorologist Sarah Tonks, who's going to be talking more about some of the threats as we will be heading into the next couple of hours. Sarah?